We also have to do more than just manage the labor problem. I know everybody needs jobs. I know that unemployment, we're pushing 10% officially, and probably unofficially a lot higher. And the big question is, what are you as labor commissioner going to do to get jobs back here? And the answer is right now, there's not much other than try and create an economy, an atmosphere that is conducive to creating more jobs. This would include working with the agriculture department. Right now, most of the new jobs that we're going to see coming out of Georgia are going to be in the agriculture business. And it's our Department of Agriculture that has an actual sales force to go out and sell our products. What the Labor Department's supposed to do is make sure that workers and employers treat each other with fairness and respect. We're supposed to get out there and highlight what Georgia does best. We're supposed to promote a good tax base. We're supposed to promote good tax policy so that we can get more jobs created here, attract more companies. We're also supposed to work on workplace safety. It's probably the least talked about subject, but one of the most top priorities of the Department of Labor. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't understand is in the Department of Labor, you're in charge of elevators and escalators. One of the things that happen is a lot of government buildings, such as I'm from Metro Atlanta, and our transit authority, MARTA, has had inoperable elevators and escalators for a number of years, and they're letting that problem persist. The Department of Labor has basically not upheld its responsibility of making sure that the public is kept safe when it comes to the public's use at government or federal, state buildings. They go after the private end companies and make sure that they have safe workplaces, but they have, for the past few years, looked the other way when it's come to make sure that we have a safe environment in government places. We have to make sure that both the private and public buildings are kept safe. We also, I'm going to get back to the economy, we have to keep an eye out on what kind of legislation is coming down here. If we don't hold our state representatives, our city council members, our county officials accountable, all they're going to do is turn the responsibility over to Washington. And do we really want more of Washington telling us how to run things in Georgia? I mean, they can bear it's a lot of their problems that have been ciphered down to Georgia, and that's why we don't have jobs. In particular, it's their monetary policy. They take our tax revenue, our income tax money, so we send it up to Washington. That money leaves Georgia, which should stay here. They throw in a bunch of printed money, a bunch of borrowed money. They basically corrupt the money that we send them, and then they make us beg to get it back. They say, you want jobs? Well, you got to adhere to these programs, and we'll give you a couple million to open a plant. Well, that doesn't make any sense. If we need to leave the money here, the federal government needs to worry about what their responsibilities are, and they need to let Georgia take care of its people. We can do it here, but we have to demand that our elected officials do it. They have to demand that people that run the constitutional offices, such as the Labor Department, puts the needs of Georgia ahead of the needs of the federal government. We need to make sure that we hold everybody here accountable. And it's going to take some work, but we can do it. The other thing that we can do in the Labor Department that's not, that I think is a real easy no-brainer, is we have to help our school kids learn more about the fundamentals of business, the fundamentals of economics and personal finance. It's a no-brainer issue. The Department of Labor can work with the school systems to actually bring back economics and personal finance, bring it back to the middle schools, bring it back to the high schools. When kids leave school, they need to know how to take care of themselves. And it is part of the responsibility of the state of Georgia, not the part of the responsibility of the federal government, but this is a state's issue. The state needs to help train its workers, not just to do tasks, but know how to be good citizens and take care of their own personal finances so they can be independent, so they don't become dependent on welfare, so they don't become dependent on government, but they can be dependent on themselves. And the easiest way to get somebody to become dependent on themselves is to teach them personal finance, personal responsibility, and then the basics of economics, how business works, and what monetary policy is. And it's not too much to to ask a middle or high school kid to learn that stuff. They can do it. We used to do that. It was something that was taught years ago. And now we've kind of let that push aside because no one was an advocate for that. So what's happened is we've gotten to a situation where we're more dependent on government. Even many of our elected officials are dependent on the federal government to bail them out when they get in trouble. We have situations where most people want somebody to come in and manage the problem. They don't want anyone to actually address the problem. And right now, our economy is one big ship and it's sinking. And if we're going to sit around and debate about who can best manage bailing the water out, and you can judge a candidate and who's going to bail the water out the best, well, that might be okay for a couple years. But ultimately, unless somebody's willing to jump in there, go down to the bottom of the hole, figure out how the ship got a hole in it, patch the hole, make sure it doesn't happen again, we're still going to be in the same problem